Adam takes to the skies. Here's your look at the Mattel Master Universe Origins, Prince Adam and Sky Sled. Longtime fans will love this modular sky sled that honors the traditions of the franchise and incorporates updated design details. Sled comes with 2 swappable heads and logos, so collectors can make this action vehicle battle ready for good with the Griffin or evil with the Serpent logos. Includes an exclusive Prince Adam figure, unavailable anywhere. As we've already gotten the measurements for He-Man in the past, nothing really changes here for Prince Adam. So what I'm going to do for the tape measure end of this review is I'm going to measure to the very top of the Sky Sled to give you guys an idea of just how tall the vehicle stands. Keeping in mind, you can also remove this from the display stand. I'll show you guys that in a second. But we're going to take the tape measure right to the very top of the handle portion, stopping it right there. According to the readout, the Sky Sled, I love saying that, stands 8 inches. Now, of course, when you include a figure, it's going to be a little bit higher than that, but we can switch that to centimeters, revealing that the Sky Sled, that's a bit of a tongue twister, is almost 20.5, 20.3 centimeters to be exact. Figured before we had a look at the Sky Sled, we would focus our attention first on Prince Adam, the exclusive figure that is only available when you pick up this set for yourself. Prince Adam is a simple remolding of the He-Man that we already had a look at, bringing him in right now. You can see there's nothing really different between the two. Yes, coloring is different on the plastic, but similar to the original vintage Prince Adam from the 80s would have really just been that He-Man figure with a different coloring of paint. Now, here in the case also, when you compare the two figures side to side, obviously Prince Adam also is wearing that pink-colored tunic that goes over top of his body. I think the original vintage Prince Adam would have had that in fabric, but instead Mattel decided to mold this one in plastic instead. And that doesn't bother me really at all. The accessory to come include with Prince Adam is a rather familiar-looking power sword. Well, familiar at least in shape, not necessarily in the color. The coloring of it is very reminiscent of the original vintage Prince Adam. The one thing that is different about this one, let's bring in the He-Man power sword. You can see the two side to side. The handle is a little bit different. The actual main bladed part of it is the same, but of course the hilt does have that additional band here on the side. The other thing that's quite noticeably different, maybe not right off the bat, but until I spin this around, and I spin this around, you can see that Prince Adam gets benefited, he gets afforded at least, a fully realized power sword. Boo! I don't say boo necessarily to the fact he gets a full power sword. I say boo to the fact that the original power sword that came included with He-Man is a halvesies job. In other words, you would need to get yourself that Skeletor, which I was fully open to the idea of doing, but you would of course make that power sword sandwich. Prince Adam doesn't get that. I mean, I would really love, actually, just to go and get a little bit of silver paint and just paint this up. Because the idea of getting actually a fully developed power sword on both sides and not get that halvesies job that we got with the other He-Man, I kind of like the idea of displaying He-Man with this sword instead. Anyways, though, like the He-Man, you can go ahead and take the power sword and fit it right into Prince Adam's hand. And he holds it perfectly fine. I suppose one thing about me painting the power sword silver is then poor Prince Adam would be without a sword. But still, I like the idea that we do get ourselves a full version sword. It is possible. It's there. They have the mold available. Hopefully down the road, maybe Mattel may just give us a full double-sided power sword. Anyways, taking that, putting it to the side. Again, quickly looking at the comparisons between the two figures, the head sculpts seem to be the exact same. I could maybe say that when you're looking at the two, there is definitely a noticeable different color in the coloring of the hair. The hair is a lot shinier here on Prince Adam. I guess if you wanted to, you could take this and pop this right off the ball joint, revealing a ball socket underneath there. Pop off the He-Mans, and you could just simply do yourself a swapsies job if you wanted to have the, slightly different colored hair. Hey now, ho now. Looking at the two, you know what? I think I'm kind of digging having Prince Adam's head sculpt, this one right here, actually on the shoulders of the He-Man body instead of this one right here. Again, it's a matter of preference more so than anything else. I don't know why. For some reason, I think it works a little bit better for He-Man than it does Prince Adam. You can see the face sculpts are exactly the same. I suppose before I forget, I probably should just pop this off. Replace it back to where I've left it. Because then obviously somebody's going to tell me for the rest of this review, you know, you are showing the wrong head sculpt on Prince Adam. And I have to be one to agree with that. Okay, so getting a closer look at the rest of his body. Essentially, like I said, it is just the regular He-Man body. Painted here, of course, to give him the sleeves in the white. The sleeve, the section underneath his tunic, all done in white there as well. Now, this is the case where it looks like what they have done is just used white plastic. The only painted areas on this probably would be the neck area. But the blending of the color actually works quite well. Yeah, it's a little bit off. It's a little bit off. You know, I have to be honest about it. But it's not too bad. I mean, looking at it now that I've probably pointed it out to everybody, everybody's like, yes, the coloring of the neck is off. Well, now only after I've mentioned that do you say that. It is a little bit different. It's a little bit different. The lower legs and, of course, the furry underoos are exactly the same on this one to what we got with He-Man. But, of course, the big noticeable difference is this piece right here. The tunic piece that goes over top of his body, which is basically just a soft plastic. Not certainly rigid enough of a plastic that it causes some difficulty with bending and moving the figure's arms. You can still pull that off fine. I'm trying to think, actually, if the original vintage Prince Adam had a fabric tunic. I think he did. And this one, of course, just going the route of plastic. I could be completely incorrect by that. But I do like the detailing on this one. For the fact that we are simply just getting the exact same mold as we gotten before, the idea of not getting a Prince Adam I would feel robbed by that. Maybe, perhaps, they could have given us a different head sculpt, maybe not with the grimaced teeth, so we did have options available that I could have then taken that off, switched that with He-Man, which I think ultimately I'm still going to end up doing. Now again, the paint on this, being the fact there's very little paint applied to this figure, all of it mostly is just the plastic, maybe short of just the fur that's on top of his boots, but all the rest of it is just molded plastic, results in a very clean looking figure. Again, like when we looked at the head sculpt, you can simply just pop the arms off. You can replace these off. I've seen some people actually just take an entire torso off these figures and just replace it with another He-Man figure. You literally could just mix and match these to come up with your very own master's figure. I'm not one to do that because I just like the design of having Prince Adam look like Prince Adam without maybe having Beastman's hairy arms coming into that. For the articulation on Prince Adam, it's basically the exact same what we got with He-Man. The head rotates all the way around. Yes, more and more I think I'm going to be swapping out that head sculpt. I think it looks a lot better on He-Man. Head goes down, head goes up. Head goes back and forth, not as much. The arms hinge out at a full, comfortable 90-degree angle bend. In addition to that, you can also move the arms forward. You can move the arms back. He does have a bend in the elbow, which allows that lower arm area here to rotate all the way around. And of course, he has a rotation all the way around on the hands. There's a hinge that goes back and forth. You can also move it that way. And basically, based on the original figure line, this would have, of course, had the snapback feature. What they've done in place of that is just have this a straight swivel in his waist. The legs split out, a full, comfortable. I say that because I'm the one doing it. I'm probably not thinking it's super comfortable for Prince Adam, but he does do a splits on the legs. You can move the legs forward and back, bend at the knee. And of course, he has a swivel on the boot. A little loose, unfortunately. Feet hinge back and forth, and you can also rock those back and forth as well. If you want to go back to that vintage line look to these figures, again, what the key to that, so smart on their marketing strategy. They're literally just taking the figure and bending the legs, bending the knees. But if you want to get that more retro design look, just do what I've just done. Bend the knees like this, and you've got more crouched-looking He-Man, or crouched-looking Prince Adam, which actually works a little bit better when you start looking at the Sky Sled that comes included with him as well. While Prince Adam stands there looking like he needs to make potty, let's get a closer look at the Sky Sled. While I was a big collector of the Masters figures growing up in the 80s, the one thing I wasn't collecting a whole lot of was the vehicles. However, a neighboring friend of mine had not only the figures, but he also had all the vehicles. So generally, I went over to his house with my figures and lived vicariously through his vehicle assortment. The one thing I always was my personal favorite vehicle that he had in his collection and in the cartoon was the original Sky Sled. And I must say, when looking at this one from the Masters of the Universe Origins line, Mattel gave us a pretty faithful-looking recreation of the vehicle that they would have had back in the 80s, and certainly in the Filmation cartoon, which we saw this vehicle be used frequently. It does have some swappable features, which we can certainly look at right now, but before I suppose we do that, the Sky Sled comes included a perch to the top of a display stand. There's a little bit of assembly required when you get this out of the packaging. Kind of the display base kind of looks a little bit like a Star Trek insignia. But this piece, basically, this neck has to be pegged in to the bottom of the display stand. And then from there, the peg goes right underneath the Sky Sled, plugs in right there. It does give you articulation in the sense that you can rotate the Sky Sled back and forth this way. And you can also hinge it down, and you can hinge it up. One thing I will credit them for doing is giving a nice strong ratcheted joint on that. So when you do tilt it up like this, it holds it, and it doesn't feel like it's going to be dropping down. To remove it, all you have to do is just go underneath here and pull this out. I don't know if I will want to be doing this too often, though. The reasoning why I say that is wiggling this off. It's not the easiest to do, mind you. Wiggling this off, popping it out like that, you can see it really does want to hold in place. I don't know if I'm going to start causing some damage to the end of the peg. I mean, it really securely plugs in there, so maybe decide for yourself, don't remove it too frequently. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and just put the head sculpt back on the top of it. Now, the interesting thing about the Sky Sled is it has two different faction designs. Now, the Griffin would have been designed based at least on the read-up that went along with this. The Griffin is actually supposed to go with the good guy masters, whereas the Serpent is supposed to go with the bad guys. One thing that you will see here in final looks in a second is that Prince Adam, as well as all the good guys, are flying around with the Serpent logo here on the side, even though it's not quite the Serpent head. And the bad guys are flying around on the Griffin. So I don't know if there is actually some miscommunication with the way that the read-up went along with the Sky Sled. But you can definitely see, here in this case, Prince Adam's been flying around on a Serpent version of the Sky Sled. To swap these out, by the way, because they do come included, as you can see there. This is the Griffin, this is the Serpent. But you can swap these out, which I really like. All you have to do is, there's a little opening slot right there, it's like a half circle. Just get your finger in there and pop this out. And then go ahead and just replace it with the Griffin. Get that tucked behind there. This is the foot peg where the figure's going to attach to. And that just snaps into place like that. So there's the Griffin. Flip it around the other side. There's the Serpent. Go ahead and do the exact same thing on this side. Pull that off, fit this in, and pop it into place. And really, based on this design, I would say it has the appropriate head sculpt, because the front of it, the crest, I guess the little front headpiece, is that of a Griffin. Or what you can also do is you can pop this off. I know I'm sort of not doing this in proper order. Just pop that off, and it comes replaced with this one right here, which obviously doesn't go with this one. It goes with the Serpent. Really interesting. Again, when you look at the packaging, you'll see that it does have a Griffin head, and yet it does have the Serpent body, or the Serpent deco. That really shouldn't go at least with Prince Adam. But anyways, so as you can see, it does come with two different variations of the heads. One a Griffin, one a Serpent. Both of them look really, really cool. So again, if we just pop this off, replace it with the appropriate one, and now we've got a fully designed, detailed looking Griffin Sky Sled. Now, it does have technically some articulation, really, if you think about it. I mean, the front cannon only swivels back and forth. The rest of it basically is just all, you can't move any of these. Like the little side cannons, for example, stay in place. There is really, even like the back area, I thought could swivel back and forth, but no, it's just all the way it's been assembled in place. I will say that the coloring is very accurate to the original Sky Sled from my own personal memory, of course. I do like the molding and detailing that they incorporated in, not only just in the actual crested area, the crest front headpiece of the Griffin, but again, like all the nice little areas of detail here. We've got the little riveted panels that would have made this up. Really, really super cool. Like I said, there are little areas here on the sides that Prince Adam will be able to plug his feet into on either side right there. And of course, there's the back area that he can sit himself onto. I probably don't think it would be a good idea to be sitting too close to the back thrusters, but that's the way they sit on it in Eternia. You can see on the back of it, there's some nice control, little readout display there. I'm assuming that these are probably other people with flying around on Sky Sleds that are there on his radar. It's got a couple little handles there on either side. So basically what you're going to do, you're going to take your Prince Adam figure. As he's already sort of in a squat position, we'll continue that trend. We'll bring the legs forward slightly. Bring his arms up like this. And all you have to do then is just fit the figure on top of the seat. Now the idea is really you're supposed to be able to take the feet and plug them into those pegs. I don't find it super easy. When I get one side in there, sure enough, the other foot seems to unpeg itself. So I think usually most of the time, I just peg the figure in, just like that, onto his hands, onto the handles. There we go. And then if he doesn't end up attaching his feet to those pegs, I usually just leave them as is, because that's more than enough for Prince Adam to stay on the sky sled. And I really don't want to tip this upside down for risk that he's actually going to fall off, but he stays pretty good in place. And again, if you want to use this to swap these out, you just take the side griffin pieces off, swap them out with the reptile, there you go, or serpent, I should say, and you just swap that out like that, and then you just go ahead and pop this off and replace it with the serpent head sculpt. Again, when you look at the packaging, I know I keep mentioning the packaging, but you'll see at the very end of this video, when I bring the packaging back in, they swap this so that you have the griffin head, and yet the side panels are that of the serpent. So again, I'm not really sure what they decided to go with, but I do like the idea that you can swap these out. You probably could pick up more than one of these, but the only resulting in that is that you'd be picking up one with Prince Adam every single time. I hope they release this maybe either as a standalone vehicle, or they maybe re-release this with like an extra exclusive bad guy masters, so that you at least have then one on display as a griffin, and then you have one on display. Hold on. Get this back the way it should have been. There you go. You can display one with the griffin, and you can display one with the serpent. I do like the fact that you do have the swappable options like that. So it would seem I was so tied up trying to figure out the faction's Sky Sled fiasco that I completely left off one crucial accessory that also came included with this vehicle. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you can probably see it right now. It's right near the display stand. He comes also included, or I should say the Sky Sled also includes, this fire blast effect. This, as you can see, is all molded in red plastic with a very noticeable peg on the end of it. All you have to do, and I'm sure you guys are smart, you already know where this is going to be going. Right on the very end of the cannon nozzle, this just fits into place like this. It could be possible as well that I just left it off in this review. I probably put it to the side because when it comes to displaying this, I don't really like to add a lot of things like this to my displays. I like to really just display the vehicles without it. But it is something, after all, that Mattel decided to include with the Sky Sled. I can't even believe I left it off. So if you are one that had picked up this vehicle for yourself and probably was scratching your head, thinking to yourself, well, wait a minute. There was something else that did come include with the Sky Sled. What about the little blast effect? No, you were right. Again, I was probably just so tied up thinking about other things that I completely left it off in the review, at least until now. Seeing as I talked about the matter like a bazillion times in this review, everybody here in Final Looks get a good gander at the artwork that comes with the packaged Sky Sled. That's nice looking artwork. Yes, it is nice looking artwork, but I don't understand what's going on here. I mean, yeah, you have Prince Adam and you have some of the other masters flying around Sky Sleds, but they're all over the place with the designs of these. Unless I'm missing the memo here. On the side, you can see Prince Adam. His deco is that of a serpent, and yet the front headdress is that of a griffin. And that's the same also with the rest of the Eternian guards that kind of all look like He-Man's flying with him in the background. All sort of the same idea. Serpent decos, griffin heads. On the flip end of it, if you look at the far left corner, it seems to be Trapjaw, seems to be Faker, and they're both flying around with Sky Sleds. Who cares about this matter? I know, everybody's like, buddy, we don't care. But the point I wanted to make, though, is that they're flying around with Sky Sleds that have a serpent head and side griffin detailing. I won't bring it up anymore. I'm just going to say, though, the read-up that Mattel provided for the Sky Sled said you could swap out the pieces so that you could have the good guy griffin or the bad guy serpent. And yet the artwork is just all over the place. Anyways, moving the matter further, I mean, at least I'm happy that we did get ourselves a Sky Sled. One of my favorite vehicles of the original vintage 80s Masters of the Universe line was the Sky Sled. And I'm just glad that we finally get one. A nice looking one, I also might say, despite the little mix-up when it comes to the swappable parts. Prince Adam is, of course, a nice included exclusive figure. So, of course, the only way that you can get this figure is by picking up the Sky Sled. You know, going back to a point I was talking about, the bottom left corner. No, it's not anything about swapping out the pieces on the Sky Sled. I beat that dead horse probably like 1,000 times already. But the bottom corner, you can see there's fake ore. You ask me, perfect opportunity to give us a second Sky Sled. So you can swap out one serpent, one griffin, leave it at that. But you could also include a packaged fake ore. I know sooner or later we're going to get ourselves a fake ore. What a better opportunity, I feel, by giving us a swapped mirror opposite to Prince Adam. If Prince Adam is the exclusive to the Masters Griffin version of the Sky Sled, why not package Fakor maybe with a Serpent Sky Sled? And then still give you the swappable options available that you can, change those out. Maybe even give us a different display-based bottom. That would be fun as well. Just an idea, throwing it out there. Other things that come include with the figure not seen here in Final Looks is, of course, the Power Sword. A fully sculpted Power Sword. Boo! Boo! I wish He-Man actually could have included that full Power Sword. I could just paint it, but I really don't want to ruin it either, because Prince Adam deserves a sword as well. Maybe down the road, if we already have a fully sculpted Power Sword, it's got to be for the fact that Mattel, I'm sure, down the road is going to give us a full Power Sword. I don't mind the vintage look of the Halvesies sword, but come on, guys, you got to give us a full sword to come include with He-Man. I might just, one last thing to throw out here, I might just end up keeping the idea of swapping out the heads. I didn't do it here in Final Looks. I didn't do it for the rest of this review, but I think I'm liking this head sculpt just a little bit more with the shinier hair. Gonna pop that off, swap it out, I think, with the He-Man, and that's going to be the way I'm going to keep the figures. You don't want to do that? That's fine. That's what I'm going to do. What do you guys think of the Sky Sled? Let me know down below. Apologies for talking so much about the fiasco of changing out the pieces on the Sky Sled. It was just more like an observation than anything else. Didn't really want it to drag out as long as it did, and I know it totally did. If you guys are fans of this channel and liking all the content you're seeing, maybe like the little bit of sprinklings of parsley that I add to these reviews and talk about my own personal opinions of these figures, let me know in the comment section down below, but make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. That's crucial. Make sure you turn on the bell notification. Yes, come back to this channel Monday to Friday, because we do videos Monday to Friday, 12 p.m. and 2 p.m., Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And yes, we are going to be looking at some more Master Universe Origins figures. So keep your peepers peeled to this channel. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.